anyhow, so yeah, I'm gonna jump over to other things. So so there's a figure out now as to how much money is going to Israel. They say is it 5 million? Probably 5 billion. So $5 billion a year is going to Israel, supposedly. I mean, this is like the official story. Okay. And that it's taxpayer dollars that are going to Israel. That's taxpayer dollars. This is the official story. And but see, this is so. Let me just kind of give you a different scenario. Okay. Let's say that $5 billion that was going to Israel, that everybody complains about, like, that's our tax dollars, we're funding this. First of all, like, where should your tax dollars go? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? You know, this is the thing. You can say, well, the tax dollars should go to this or that and the other. But who's to say what's right? What's the right answer to the question as to where the tax... Because everybody's going to have their own opinion. And I'll tell you, this is the way it goes. The middle class will say that $5 billion should go to the middle class. The upper middle class is going to say that $5 billion should go to the upper middle class. The working class is going to say that $5 billion should go to the working class. The underclass is going to say that $5 billion should go to the underclass. So which of these should it go to then? Which of these should it go to? Consider this also. Everybody's been complaining about the top-down system. How everything goes to, all the money goes to the top, and then it just starts sprinkling down, and then whatever's left over, everybody scrambles for what's like. That's what a top-down system is. And you've got people who have argued, you know, shills, all different kinds of people, from grifters and shills to whatever, genuine people or whatever, just all runs the gamut. All these people arguing that it should be the opposite. It should be a bottom-up system instead of a top-down system, you know. Like the pyramid on the dollar. The capstone up at the top, everything goes there first. Everybody there gets served first, and then it goes down from there. And then at the very bottom, that they all get served last at the bottom. People argue that the problem is that it should be the opposite. It should be inverted, bottom up, right? So when we've got $5 billion of our tax money, it's our tax money that's going to Israel, where should it go? Where should it go? And depending on who you ask, you'll get a different answer. Like I said, you ask the middle class, they're going to say the money should go to them, the middle class. You ask the upper middle class, they're going to say the money should go to them, the upper middle class. You ask the working class, they're going to say the money should go to them, the working class. And everybody's going to have so where's the consensus on where the money should go? And when really, if you go by a moral compass, the money should go to those most in need of it, which is obvious. It's not the working class. It's not the middle class. It's not any, the only people that are most in need of it is the underclass, those at the bottom. But now imagine if instead of all this money were sent to Israel, it was getting sent straight to the bottom, like all the people at the bottom in the USA, all the people most in need, the poorest people in this country, all the money started going to them. You think everybody would just stop complaining? No. Instead of saying it's the Jays and being all wanting to kill all the Jays, they're going to want to kill all the poor people, because all the money that was going to Israel is now going to all the poor people in this country who need it more than anyone else. See how this works? Like, it's a catch-22. It's a no-win situation. And this is all by design. This is because the entire money system is fake. And it is all fake. It's all manufactured and designed to create all this unrest and tension among people. They see $1 million $5 billion going somewhere, and they're all upset. But it's like, well, where do you want it to go? Where do you think they want it to go? In their own pocket, not sent, right? But like I said, if all that money that was $5 billion a year that was sent to Israel was just sent directly to the poorest people in this country who need the money more than anyone else, you think that would change anything? No, those people would just shift their focus of hatred from Israel to the underclass, the homeless, all these people. That's all that would happen. So there is no solution being offered. It's just the complaint. It's constantly the grievance of $5 billion is being sent to Israel, and that's our tax dollars. Okay, I hear your grievance. Where should it go, though? And therein lies the problem. If you're middle class, you're going to say the money should go to the middle class. If you're working class, you're going to say the money should go to the working class. But when you use a moral compass, like who needs the money the most in this country, that's where the money should go. And it's the homeless. It's the people that are the poorest in this country that the money should go to first. And if this country did that, you would have outrage, like just as much, if not more outrage as you do towards Israel, because all this money being sent to Israel. So I know I already did a video on this, but see, this is the repetitive over and over thing. It's always the big problem. Again, it's always the problem, never the solution. The reason they don't want to talk about the solution is because it's secret. In secret, they just want the money for themselves. They're not standing on some moral ground and virtue of like where the money should go to is some virtuous cause instead of Israel. There is no, that's why they never offer up the solution, because they just want the money to go to themselves. That's it. So it's all based in greed. So because of that, nobody's offering up a reasonable kind of explanation as to why they're upset that the money is going to Israel. They're just offering up all this nonsense. Like the reason is because the middle class are struggling, and you know the gas prices, and people's toast are getting dropped butter face down. Like the only reason to send the money, keep the money here, is to give it to those most in need of that money, which would be the poorest and the homeless. But if you were to do that, if U.S. society were to actually do that, you would have just as much outrage as you do with the $5 billion being sent to Israel. And why? So why would our country be so outraged if we were to take that $5 billion that's going to Israel and give it to the poorest people in our own country? Why would people be outraged about that? And so, like asking that question alone is a massive can of worms. Like you could go into hours and hours of discussion as to why it is that everybody would be so pissed off if we took that $5 billion that's going to Israel and started giving it to our homeless poor in this country. Why would people be upset? And then you can list all these reasons and then go through them and figure out which ones are legitimate, whereas which ones are just crybabies that are fucking shitting their pants. And they're just crybabies that need their diapers changed. And like stupid. You'll have all these dumb reasons why people should be upset about $5 billion going to the U.S. homeless population. You'll have all these crybabies with diarrhea diapers that are crying because they only have 7 brand new cars and they deserve to have another 1 or 2 brand new cars. And that's why there's such outrage. See what I'm saying? Like, society is completely shit the bed. Society has completely shit the bed. And when you look into history, like, this is what has happened time and time again to empires. all these people populating these empires, they're just crybabies with diarrhea diapers, and they're just constantly shitting the bed all the time, and that's how empires fall. They're just populated with a bunch of spoiled baby fucking crybabies that just they're not getting good enough internet service. And the McDonald's, it took them 10 seconds more than it was supposed to serve them their hamburger. Just a bunch of crybabies. And that's all, really, that's what the USA is. It's just a bunch of crybabies. All the people that are dominating the public discourse and the public square, they're all just a bunch of shitty pants, poopy pants crybabies that just aren't getting enough. It's just not enough for them. And this is like history repeats itself. You go back into history, all these empires that have fallen, it's always the same. The society turned into a bunch of crybabies who more is never enough, and fuck everyone else. That's why I've often referenced the story of Sodom in the Bible. And I know the synopsis of the story of Sodom, I know it verbatim. This is the synopsis of the story of Sodom, which is the same as the Roman Empire and all these other empires. They all fall the same. Bunch of crybabies that more is never enough. That's how all these empires fall. And Sodom is a perfect example. The synopsis of Sodom reads as follows. This is the guilt of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters had arrogance, abundance of food, and careless ease, but she did not help the poor and needy. Thus, they were haughty and committed abominations before me. Therefore, I removed them when I saw it. Like, this is the age-old story of fallen empires. It's always the same. They have arrogance, abundance of food, and careless ease. Just a bunch of crybabies. More is never enough. And they ignore the cries of the homeless poor. They just ignore all that. And more is never enough. They're always crying because they're not getting their cookie or whatever. And then as a result of a society like that, they become haughty and commit abominations like P. Diddy scandals and Epstein scandals and all this other abominations that we see happening before us. History repeats itself. And it's because all these people, they're just, more is never enough. They're just a bunch of crybabies, and more is never enough. So then they got to have the Epstein Island. They got to have the P. Diddy freak off and all the attention, and make a big show of the P. Diddy. P. Diddy is just oh my gosh, he's so wonderful. This is all the same shit. That's all abomination. They were haughty and committed abomination before me. And what's the final act in that empire scenario is, therefore I removed them when I saw it. Like, you see all this and it's just like, what is this? This is just stupid, and remove it. That's how empires fall. Go back all throughout history. It's the same story over and over and over and over and over and over. History repeats itself. And so we live in this Babylon, Sodom society right now, and all the same shit is happening. All these people in America, they all have arrogance, abundance of food, and careless ease. They're all a bunch of crybabies. If they don't get their cookie, they're fucking crying, and then they're screaming in the public square about cookies, when you got way more crazy shit going on than cookies, but they're just crybabies that want cookies. And so then everybody's talking about cookies while all the real shit is just getting ignored. And what are they ignoring? Like, they were hot. What does it say? It says, this is the guilty. They had arrogance, abundance of food, and careless ease, but they did not help the poor. Like, they're the bunch of crybabies, but the poor who are really suffering, their cries are going completely ignored because the crybabies didn't get their cookie, and their pants are poopy now. That's all this is. Tell me I'm wrong. Explain to me how I'm wrong. That's what all this is. And as a result of just being poopy pants crybabies, they're haughty and commit abominations. Epstein Islands, P. Diddy Freakoff scandal, all this abomination everywhere. That's a result of the crybaby society. More is never enough. I need an Epstein Island and everything else, and the P. Diddy parties. All this has to go down. You know, we don't have time to address the cries of those that are suffering, because we got to get this P. Diddy party going. It's really important, because we're all the important celebrities and all this shit. We're all the important people, and all the middle class are relying on us to show them how awesome we are. You know, this is how all this works. And then therefore, as a result of all this, it is removed. It goes up in flames. However it's removed, it's removed. There isn't an occultic, cryptic thing to be interpreted from the story. This is just natural law. You know, when you see natural law illustrated in a book or like in a paragraph or something, it's easy to understand. There isn't really much of a cryptid message behind it. When you see natural law, it's easy to recognize. You don't have to try to figure out, how do I decipher this? Because it's just obvious. Innate knowledge tells you. Gnosticism, your gnosis will tip you off to when you see something that's just or natural law. Like it's no denying it. There is no hidden message behind it. It just is what it is, and that's what this is. That's what the story of Sodom is. There is no cryptid hidden message behind it. It's just natural law. This is how natural law works in a society of crybabies. You know. This is the natural procession of natural law. You get a society of a bunch of crybabies who more is never enough, and they're just spoiled, poopy pants crybabies running a society. They're going to run it completely into the ground, and it's going to go up in flames, and it's going to be over. And that's what you know. The U.S. is just that. That's all it is. And so going back to like this $1 billion going to Israel, like it's just a bunch of crybaby, poopy pants crybabies that they just are upset because they want that money for themselves, because more is never enough. They don't have enough mansions and cars and everything. Like more is never enough. But they'll tell you that the reason they're upset about that billions of dollars going to Israel is out of a moral compass. It's morally wrong. You know, they'll tell you that, but in reality, they're just upset that money isn't going into their bank account. They don't care about you when they're talking about $5 billion going to Israel that you're taxed. They don't care about you when they're saying that at all. If they cared about people when they're addressing $5 billion going to Israel, it would be obvious, because they would be pointing out that money should be going to the poorest and people in our own country, the people most in need of that money, the people most fucking financially in need in this country. That's where that money should go, not to Israel. But I don't know if you're keeping a pulse on this Israel story regarding money, but they're not mentioning that at all. They're not even saying where the money should go. They're only saying that it shouldn't go to Israel, but they're not explaining where it should go. It's all part of their plan. You know, it's all part of their plan. If they, because it's an agenda. The agenda is for the money to go to them. So they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to point out how it's wrong that money's going to Israel. And that's as far as they're going to go. You know, it's all part of the plan. They're just trying to figure out how to get that money in their pocket. They're not trying to figure out how to get that money to the people, especially those most in need, you know, which is where it should go. That's the logical. See, they're not using logic. It's all failed logic. It's all fraudulent logic. It's not based in anything except for them, their bank account. That's all it's based on, is their bank account or their people's bank account, their tribe's bank account. middle class tribe, upper middle class tribe, lower like working middle class tribe, lower middle class tribes. It's all an agenda. There's an agenda. There is no interest in figuring out where truly that money should go. It's how can I get that money to come to me? That's the entire base of their grievance of that $5 billion going to Israel. So don't be fooled by this shit. Don't be a fool when you're hearing this.